3.
This is Parker Hesse. This is Sam Branks. You have the pleasure of listening to Hawkeyes and Tallboys. Cheers, motherfuckers.
Welcome to the Hawkeyes and Tallboys podcast, featuring your hosts, Bo Freeborn.
You know, guys, even though we get 2 conference losses, we're still going to end up 9-3. We're going to win the West for sure.
Dylan Pond.
Here's the thing, fellas. I'm going with it. 12-0, baby. We're going to do it. Let's fucking go. Woo!
And Rob Wall.
I mean, that would be shocking. But we can do it. I mean, I think we can.
So crack a tall boy and go Hawks.
Welcome into another episode of Hawkeyes and Tallboys, the unofficial, official podcast of the Hawkeyes. My name is Rob Wall. I'm here joined with Bo Freeborn and Dylan Pond. How we doing, guys?
Hey, doing good, Rob. What's up? Doing good, man. What do we know?
Great. And our special guest today, he is the publisher. He's actually the youngest ever published on Rivals. It is Richie. He runs the Rutgers Rivals account. How we doing, Richie?
I'm doing good. I heard that intro. I kind of want to chug a beer. I'm not going to lie. It got me a little hyped up. I thought I was getting ready to run out the tunnel. Oof.
It's perfect.
That's good. I feel great now.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, you're not chugging a bang, are you?
I'm drinking it, whatever I got.
I think Budweiser, man.
Is that a 40?
All right. So
I wish.
Today we are here to preview, obviously, this Saturday's game against Iowa Hawkeyes versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And obviously that's why we've invited you on the show, Richie. We'd like to just, talk to you a little bit about how you got started in the business, covering, Rutgers sports, and we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, so I guess I joined the message boards when I was like 12 or 13. My uncle was a big Rutgers fan, and I kind of followed him with his fandom. He started taking me to games. He's been a season ticket holder for 30-something years now. I was been on the message boards for a while. Eventually, I just got to the point where I was like, why don't I reach out to these guys, like these recruits? It's kind of creepy that these 60-year-old dudes are reaching out to 17, 18-year-olds. Why doesn't the 16-year-old me not reach out to them? I connect better. So I started doing that. I did a free website for a little bit on 247 before they really started up. I was making a lot of connections with the kids more so than anyone else. I started to realize that it's more about making the relationships with the coaches, but the kids always related to me. We would talk smack with each other. We would play Madden. We would do all that stuff, talk shoes, cleats, etc. About 2 years after starting that free website, Rivals picked me up. My boss ended up leaving for 247, so it's just a constant carousel of sorts over here. But they promoted me to publisher. I was the youngest publisher in Rivals Network at the time at 22, and here I am 6-7 years later, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a good journey, and now I'm sitting here drinking beers on a podcast.
Love it. Nice. Hell yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are a Rutgers alum, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rutgers alum, 2017. So it's been a couple of years now.
And now you had told us, you were telling us before the pod, obviously, official member of the media.
Yeah, Heisman Trophy voter. Got that somehow. I don't know how. Still trying to figure that one out.
Damn.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So who'd you vote for?
I can't tell you. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. For 2 years in a row, I got the winner right. So let's put it like that. It's a pretty good streak. This year, I'm thinking about one of the punters in this game. I'm not sure. Maybe. You never know.
Love it. Yeah.
Could be that guy. It's like the guy that didn't vote for Jeter, but that's besides the point.
That's awesome. So we can kick it off, kind of and thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, it means a lot to us, and to provide our listeners basically with just like a nice little background, a primer of what we can look forward to this Saturday. Obviously, it's a night game. It's in Piscataway, New York. Correct?
Piscataway, New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Gosh, I keep thinking New York for some reason, but yeah, it's a long ride.
It's the same thing, isn't it, Rob?
Whoa. This podcast going south.
Rich, yeah, I'm just kidding with you. I'm just kidding. All right, go on, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, we're good. So yeah, it's obviously going to be 7 p.m. on the East Coast there. And this Rutgers team is actually 3-0. They're undefeated here, and obviously we're 2-1, and there's some different levels of competition there. But I'd like to just start out by asking you, Richie, what so far have you seen from this Rutgers team that has been impressive?
So before I get in depth with that, this is for Rutgers' first night game since 2017, with fans at least. So this is pretty big. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. It's a projected sellout. It's not official yet. It'll probably get announced Friday or Saturday. Build the hype a little bit. But from what I'm hearing, it's already sold out. But yeah, no, this team is very similar to the Hawkeyes team. Both offenses flat out stink. Like there's no way around it. They're terrible. I know obviously Rutgers has a little more yards, but at the same time, like you said before, the schedules are a little bit different. They didn't play Iowa State, they played Wagner. They played Temple. It's like but both defenses are very good. So this is going to be an interesting game. Some people, and by some people I mean our website, is calling it the punt off of the century. But I mean, I don't know. It's the lowest ever over-under in the modern football era of a college football game. So that tells you everything you kind of really need to know about these teams.
You talked about, camaraderie and this being the first night game in a while. I think I read a stat somewhere that Rutgers hasn't won a conference home game in like 4 years.
Yeah, 19 straight. It's an interesting one.
How does that make this game? I mean, it's the first Big Ten game for both teams, so obviously huge, right? Huge for the standings. But like, what does that mean to Rutgers not winning a game, a conference game at home in 4 years?
Yeah, it's really tough. This team's weird to kind of judge over the past couple seasons because they'll go out to Michigan State in the first game of the COVID season, get 7 turnovers, win the game, and it's like, what the hell just happened? Then they'll go home and then they'll get blown out by Indiana, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, two totally different teams. It is interesting. I mean, I don't think the players care that much about it. I know it sounds cliche to say, but they don't really look into those numbers. Now, obviously, they want to break that streak. They want to end it right away. But it's going to be I don't really think it factors into the game as much as I guess the media and like people like us talk about it.
Speaking of being in the media too, what do you think of Greg Schiano? Do you really like what he's doing there, the attitude and everything that he's bringing back to Rutgers?
Yeah, so I mean, he's been recruiting really well. I just don't think there's another person that's really good for this job. And I mean, no offense by this to you guys, but when they hired Chris Ash, he brought a bunch of Midwestern people into New Jersey. It's just a different culture. I know it's probably a different culture out there as well. But you can't have like Bill Bush going into the inner cities and recruiting. It's not going to work. Like at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but like maybe it did a little bit for like 1 or 2 guys, but like for the most part, these guys just didn't understand New Jersey. And it's kind of like a fuck you attitude here. Like if you're not from here, we don't like you. End of story. Like I like you guys for now, but we'll see how the end of the podcast.
I love that. I think that's hilarious, and that's everything that I've heard about East Coast. Yeah. So that's funny. Let me ask. So obviously last week, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, you guys, but last week the Hawks played a Nevada team that was one of statistically one of the worst in the FBS, and we ended up escaping that game, which was 7 hours because of a lightning delay. And they ended up finishing the game 27-0. There's a lot of cool things that we saw in the game. But guys, so what's that?
I said maybe the clouds, the lightning bolts. About it. All right, I gotta throw the jabs here and there.
I'm talking about on the field too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We got to see freshman running back Caleb Johnson do it, and I thought he broke off a few runs. He looked really impressive to me. But you guys, just to sort of give our thoughts briefly on last game moving into this game, I thought that playing Nevada was sort of an opportunity for us to kind of get things sort of meshed together on the offensive side of the ball, see some success. For the way I relate to it is like watching the ball go through the net. When you're playing basketball, sometimes it's just like is a mental thing to see those passes completed to help us get better. And I think that surprisingly, you know, I know it would be easy to look past this game as a Hawkeye from the Hawkeye perspective, you know, seeing Michigan, you know, the week after this. But, you know, I think that this could be a game where, you know, this team is tested.
Oh, absolutely, Robin. You know, no question about it. I think last week is good in the sense that it was a tune-up, right? It was a chance to get the offense right. It was the chance to get the, you know, Spencer Petras and the wide receivers on the same page. And I know I've been the biggest Spencer Petras hater all year. You know, we'll throw that out there. And, you know, my hot take last week was that he was going to throw 3 touchdowns, and he damn near did. You know, if it wasn't for Brody Breck dropping balls and, you know, misplaying routes and that sort of thing. And, you know, no disrespect to him by any means. You know, he's a true freshman and just a kid. You know, he's still figuring it out. So not a big deal there. But yeah, truthfully, I thought he played a hell of a game. And I don't think the stats really showed how well he played because of drops and, you know, shit like that. And especially playing in horrible weather. So I thought he played well. I thought the offensive line looked better. You know, another big critique there is, you know, I think they've been for the most part horrible all year. And they went from like horrendous to just terrible. So that was good to see. You know, and, you know, I know we're homers here and, you know, we love our boy Tyler Ellsbury, but, you know, I thought when he came in, he provided a spark on that offensive line and, you know, really loved seeing that. And, you know, again, still just not seeing it from Nick DeYoung there in that guard spot. And, you know, Logan Jones has been struggling with the center position as well. So, no, it's time for Big Ten football, though. It's time to, you know, put up or shut up. So I want to see the best 5 out there. I don't care about positions. And, you know, we got to get this thing sorted out quick because, you know, as Richie alluded to earlier, the first night game and, you know, since 2017 for Rutgers, it's going to be a madhouse.
I thought the defense looked really good too. You know, a lot of things went really well for our defense. Obviously, pitched a shutout, and what was cool was our second string kept that shutout going too. Usually, you know, the offense, you know, from the opposing team goes down and scores right away on your second string, and really like the fact that, you know, it was a bend but don't break. Didn't even give up a score even after the 2 lightning delays. And Scary Terry Roberts almost had a pick 6 that got called back. So that was pretty awesome.
Dude, he's a killer. He's been having a phenomenal part of the non-conference season. So I really hope he gets a chance to continue that. And obviously he's going to, with Jamar Harris been out for the year. So
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing himself into potentially being an NFL draft pick. So that's awesome. Awesome to see.
Absolutely. Well, so moving into this Saturday, you guys, I was just looking over some of the stats from the first 3 games that, you know, Rutgers has played. And Richie, you mentioned it, obviously, you know, this is a 2 teams with great defenses, 2 teams with, you know, really great special teams units, a lot to be desired left on the offensive side of the ball. So obviously, you know, the over under right now is 34, and I still feel like I would go the under there. But let me ask you this one stat that sticks out to me. Rutgers so far this year, rushing yards allowed 32.3 per game. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. When you look at the competition, it's a Temple team with a first-year head coach with a running back that was below average, even with a third-year head coach last year. A Wagner team that hasn't won a game since 2019. And that one game they won was against Long Island, a program that was in its first year as a program. And then Boston College, yeah, they probably should have ran a little bit better, but they had a 4-star former 1,000-yard rusher last season, and Patrick Garlow, he just couldn't do much. The defense, it's always been Schiano's kind of bread and butter. He's been a DC just about everywhere, including obviously Ohio State, NFL. He was running with, he was technically the DC, not DC, with the Patriots for 3-4 months before he quit. But yeah, I mean, his defense is his bread and butter. That's his niche. He kind of understands how defenses work, and they're blitzing quite a bit. I know it's a new DC technically at Rutgers and Joe Harris-Simiak, but doing a hell of a job on defense. It's the offense that I think it's 140 yards per game, something like that. And it's not much more than Iowa.
Speaking of the defense too, I mean, if you watch Iowa's O-line and quarterback play, you think that there's going to be a ton of blitzing. I mean, is linebacker core or even your D-line probably the strongest point of the defense, or is it more your secondary?
It's 100% the secondary. I can tell you right now, this linebacker core is down to 3 or 4 scholarship linebackers total. It's mostly a nickel package just out of necessity because they don't have any linebackers. going into the season, I think you could count on two hands the amount of starts that this entire linebacker core has had.
Wow.
And I think 7 of them belong to one guy in Tyreen Powell. Deion Jennings has been around the block. I know he's like a 4th or 5th year senior at this point, but he just never got the starting role and was always kind of like a backup guy. Now he's thrusted into that starting role. The NCAA also kind of screwed a guy and Drew Singleton out a little bit. He's a former NJ #1 player, #1 recruit. So he played in the Gator Bowl last year. Obviously, Rutgers wasn't supposed to be in the Gator Bowl. They got that call, I think, a week before Texas A&M backed out. Singleton goes and plays, gets injured. There goes his NFL draft stock. It's down the drain. Not that he was probably going to get drafted, but he could have been a pickup in like an undrafted free agent or something like that. They tried to appeal to the NCAA to get him his year back because he technically still had 1 more year of eligibility, but that injury kind of halted that. They said no, so that kind of screwed this whole linebacker core up. On top of that, 4-star freshman injured out for the year, ACL. 4-star the leading sack guy from last year, linebacker / edge rusher, tore something in his knee. He's out for the year. So now you're down to 4 guys. One's a true freshman, one's a redshirt freshman, and one's a redshirt sophomore. Like it's rough.
So I heard that you guys run a 4-2-5 too. Like, do you guys have a kind of like a cash position like Iowa does? So like a hybrid linebacker, corner, safety player then, or is it all corner safeties?
It's weird. So they're playing a guy named Christian Izzian, who's a 5th year senior. He's like 5'9". He's normally playing safety. He's got really big hops for his size and everything, but he's kind of playing a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage because he is a really good tackler and a good run stopper or run stuffer, if you want to call it that. So I guess you could consider him that role for the most part, but he also plays back quite a bit. It's a weird team because they kind of rely on this defensive line. They've rotated about 9 or 10 guys, and I think Iowa's actually been doing something very similar as well. It's just a very deep defensive line on both sides. So I think you're just going to see guys, and not every series, but like maybe a couple plays per series, just rotate in, out, and it's been working so far.
Nice. It sounds like we're in for just an old-fashioned Big Ten slugfest.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's the punt off of the century.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it.
No.
Looking over at, and thanks for that breakdown, Richie. I wanted to see, talking about your guys' defense, and we'll probably do this on the offensive side when we get there too. But, if you were gonna maybe put the spotlight on somebody on the Rutgers defense, who would that person be for you?
As much as I want to say Max Melton, who's like cornerback 1 for them, has been quarterback 1 for like 2 years now. Looking at the Iowa wide receiver core, I don't really know if I would spotlight him, to be honest. What do you guys have? 3, no offense, like 3 scholarship receivers out there right now?
Yep.
It sounds like the linebacker core over here. It's very similar, but I'd probably go Aaron Lewis on the edge. He's been playing really well. He probably played the best out of all the defensive linemen. He's tall, lengthy, just an end around guy. Like I don't know how many sacks he's actually put up this year, but he's got a bunch of quarterback hurries. And like I said, this D-line as a whole, even if he doesn't play all the snaps, they're going to rotate someone else in, and it's just nonstop. And he's another transfer guy, and that's the transfer portal. Without this transfer portal, Rutgers would probably be shit out of luck. But thank God the portal's here, and that's the majority of their starting lineup.
That's awesome. I just looked him up. 6'5", 250. He's a hometown boy from Williamson, New Jersey. That's awesome.
Yeah, Michigan signee, and then transferred before he even got to campus.
Wow.
Yeah, lucky.
So speaking of transfers, I'm going to move it over to the offensive side of the ball. I know you guys have Noah Vedral, the quarterback that transferred from Nebraska, but now I'm hearing that both of your starters could be out. Is that true, or what do you know from that perspective?
So we're kind of like, I guess our lips are sealed for the most part in terms of practice notes, but Schiano went on the radio today at 1 p.m. on one of the New York stations, kind of said Vedral's still week to week. He's been week to week since before the season even started. He's been out for quite some time, but they've been playing quarterback roulette between the 2 backups. I don't even know if I would call them backups because the first depth chart we got was Vedral or Wimsett or Simon. So it's like, what are we doing? And then he goes and trots out Johnny Langan, Series 1, Game 1, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, everyone in the press box is like, are you kidding me? This is what we waited for. Like, like a tight end at quarterback again. But Anyway, so it's been interesting. He's been going back. Schiano's been going back and forth between these two guys. I don't know what the status is on Wimsatt. I know Schiano said it was going to be game time. Even if he is healthy, it's weird. They kind of rotate both guys. And I know you're starting to see this with a couple more college programs, but both guys aren't good. So it's like, what are we doing? Like someone's got to either step up and grab this job by the reins or get out of the way so the other guy can.
So just one run and one pass, or like what's the difference between the two, or can they not do either?
So Wimsatt, yeah, basically you're kind of right on that. So Simon's got the smarter. He's got the smarts to him, I guess. He's not going to make the stupid passes. He's going to make the smart throws. Both of them can technically run. Like Simon ran for like 900 yards in high school, but Wimsatt's more of the mobile guy. He ran for 60-yard run against like Boston College in the first game, and we all sat there in the press box like, holy shit, I've never seen a Rutgers quarterback do that. That was insane. Like, that was cool. Do it again. Yeah, so I mean, his issue is accuracy, and he doesn't have the smarts. He's thrown 2 picks this year, and it's just like blatant picks in the double, triple coverage, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? But he's got the stronger arm and more mobility of the two. So it's like you kind of pick and choose your poison. Me personally, it's tough. You're 3-0, so you kind of want to get that bowl game. But if you have a 4-star freshman who's in Gavin Wimsatt, who has the potential to be this guy, I think you just got to ride with him. You got to ride with the freshman. You're going to take your lumps here and there. He's going to make stupid passes, and you're probably going to scream at him on the sideline like Tommy Reese did to his quarterback. But, yeah, I mean, you kind of just ride with him and see what happens.
Yo, Bill, does that sound like anybody that we know?
Yeah, all too much. That reminds me of old Spencer Petras there, casual. Got a guy opened up the seam and throw it to Laporta and triple coverage over the middle. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is, right?
I know you guys are interviewing me, but I got to ask, why the fuck do you not go to Padilla?
Oh.
The man's got good numbers in his little limited time. Like,
Your
did
guess.
I open up a can of worms?
You opened up a can of worms there, Richie. I mean, it's just, Kirk Ferentz is a lot of things, right? And I think old school and stubborn is probably the biggest one.
He's a good dad, too. I can tell. He would never fire his son.
See, there you go. There's problematic. No. That's one aspect, but keep going.
Schiano hired his son, but it's not in like a assistant coaching role. You got to know like family over or coaching over family.
But hey, you're from up there. I think, from what I understood, it always sounded like Brian Ferentz had a pretty good relationship. Well, I guess not really that close, but Massachusetts, with New England, he had a pretty good relationship there with Bill Belichick and tight ends coach up there for a while. So
yeah.
And he actually was a good old line coach too at Iowa.
Oh, phenomenal old line coach, but
yeah, OC, that ain't it, man. That just yikes. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. Well, I'll keep throwing the digs then.
So basically, yeah. If you weren't aware, Hawkeye Nation has been sort of in turmoil over this debate for the better part of 3 weeks now. And with every game, especially this last game, the quarterback has been in question. Just to lay some basic information down for you. Our quarterback right now, Spencer, he's a senior. He's sort of been leading the team, but over the last, 10 games now, he did throw 3 touchdown passes last week or 2. It was just 1. Okay.
Even worse.
So now he's got 1 touchdown and 9 picks, I think.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, or is it 2, Dylan? 2 and 9?
Two touchdowns in the last 9 games with 9 interceptions, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's bad.
And he's been sort of like having trouble making some routine throws. And then people want to talk about, well, it's not Spencer's fault that he's the one being started but and then like they're calling it a play calling, like why are we having Spencer throw these balls to the guys at the sideline? Why don't we throw down the field more, instead of off in the flats? And then why aren't we and it all starts with obviously being able to set up the run. So I mean, it really starts with the quarterback, and there's a question there because we saw Padilla last year play for 2 games when Spencer came out and he was hurt. And then Padilla is a little bit more mobile. And so he has the ability to extend plays that become broken, which Spencer does not. He'll take a sack, which is a beam of hope from a fan's perspective. But another interesting thing is that, Spencer, although he's not very mobile, when he has the ability and the time to throw the ball downfield, his arm is more accurate in those scenarios, they say. And also he's a hell of a practice player. So I don't know if I covered that correctly, guys, but everyone's they'd like to see Padilla get snaps and get a chance to go. And some people are just done with Petrus at this point in time. And I think I fall into that boat as well as Dill does. And I'm not sure where you stand, Bo, but we want to do what you were suggesting, Richie, was like, hey, we have talent, young talent at the quarterback position in Joey Labus, who's our third string. We also have some other guys beyond Joey that it's like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just start having him take snaps? You know what I mean? And just ride or die, because he might have potential to be better. And so.
See, and you got to remember, so with Kirk being old school, he's one of those guys where, like, let's just look at his offense and how vanilla that is, where you talk about running the ball, right? It's, okay, one bad thing can happen. You can fumble the ball. Okay, but when you throw the ball, multiple bad things can happen, right? It can get tipped, it can get picked off, it can, fall incomplete, this, and that. And so, you go back to that being his foundation. So then look a little bit further, like, yeah, we saw some good numbers from Alex Padilla when he stepped in when Spencer Petrus was hurt last year. But what do you suppose Kirk remembers? Kirk remembers Nebraska, where he comes out and plays, by far his worst half of the year, that first half, and then Spencer Petrus comes in that last game of the year and, brings them back to victory. So, Kirk's not a best case scenario coach, which sounds wrong, but he's more of that, worst case scenario. Okay, if I stick Alex Padilla out there and if I stick Spencer Petrus out there, who's going to play worse, kind of thing, or who has the potential, who has the lower floor, not who has the higher ceiling. So I think that's just really the best way to describe that. And, as shitty as it is, like I said, I've been Spencer Petrus's biggest hater all year long, and I thought he looked good on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do on the road. And, a really cool stat that Bo found actually too, go ahead and say it, Bo, because it's just wild to hear, where he has 8 touchdown passes and 1 pick in road games in his college career.
So he's been like complete night and day opposite from Kinnick and away from Kinnick. Like, that's nuts.
That's just so interesting to me. And, obviously we saw it with Iowa going out east last year. And, I know we were all super worried about that game. That was a trap game like no other, going playing Maryland out there. And, I see this being kind of similar, where it's, let some of the pressure off a little bit. That being said, we got to come in there Saturday and establish a run game right away and quiet down those hectic New Jerseyans.
And that kind of brings us into the offense. So, Rich, I know we talked about your quarterback situation and what you're dealing with, but let's talk about skill positions. Who's the shiftiest guys in the squad? Who's going to be the ones that you would put money on if you're a betting man to come away with a touchdown?
I would never sports bet. That's bad. That's not good. Like, no, me never.
Wait, is that legal in New Jersey yet, Richie?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
But not as a member of the media. If I'm reading it correctly.
No. You can't bet on Rutgers in New Jersey. It's some stupid rule with you can't bet on the state school. Whatever nonsense.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's dumb. But if you go to Philly, you can bet. I wouldn't know, but you can. But yeah. So anyway, if I had to pick anyone out of the skill positions. If we're going to go wide receiver, it's probably Aaron Cruikshank, Wisconsin transfer. He's very shifty. He's still kind of learning the receiver position a little bit, but he's one of the best kick returners in college football. I'd probably say history, because he has 6 or 7 total between kick and punt returns for touchdowns. So he's right up there. He's very shifty. Now, they use him completely incorrectly, and they're like, hey, let's give him the ball behind. It sounds similar to Iowa's offense. Give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Let him go. Like 2 yards. Woohoo. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Go up the field and let him run. The kid's fast. But if he gets the ball in open space, he's super dangerous. Other than that, Johnny Langan, who I mentioned before as a quarterback, is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. The man is, I like to call him Taysom Hill, pretty much. Plays quarterback. He's thrown a touchdown this year. I think he's ran in for 2 touchdowns. I don't know if he caught one yet, but he's caught one in his career here, multiple in his career. He kind of just does it all. He's kind of that nitty gritty old school football player that you need a couple first downs or something, or you need a couple of yards. I'm putting him in at the goal line, and I trust him to get past anyone in the world. This man is just nuts. I've seen him walk off the sideline with like his nose dripping blood, and the man's just like, he's the prototypical old school football player. He's everything you want in a guy on the field, but he's another guy to keep an eye on because they do use him in a variety of ways. I think last game when they needed to get the win and just kind of had to get a couple first downs, he played that entire fourth quarter drive and just ground and pound right up the middle. Everyone knew it was coming, but they still couldn't stop him because he's 6'4", 210, 220 or whatever he is now. I guess other than him, I'd probably say Al-Shidi Salam. He's a redshirt freshman running back. He's really shifty. He's a little smaller. He's kind of got that Ray Rice type build. I know it sounds stupid to kind of compare him, but every running back here that's under like 5'10" at Rutgers, it's like, yeah, you're Ray Rice now. Don't get in trouble. Don't go in elevators. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I can't post this on my board now.
That's hilarious.
Sure you can.
Yeah, sorry, Ray. But yeah, no, he's shifty. He's a home run type threat. He could break one open anytime. Like he might average like 1.9, like he did yards per carry, like he did last week, and then it's like that Saquon type thing where it's like, oh yeah, he ran for a 40-yard gain, and then his numbers look great, and people are like, yeah, he had an amazing game. It's like he had one run. But yeah, that would probably be the top 3 guys I'd probably keep an eye on in terms of the Rutgers offense.
I really like Cruikshank a lot. I think he's awesome. I agree. I think he's kind of underutilized. And when they do those fly sweeps, if you had good enough blockers, I mean, the guy could move. He can get down the seam. But to me, he reminds me a lot of Amir Smith-Marset, who played at Iowa a couple of years ago. I think that's a really good comparison. I think they're both fast as fuck and relatively good receivers too, right?
That's another fuck up by Chris Ash. Rutgers had him committed. And then he flipped, and then between him and you went Akram Wadley. Is that how you say it? Wadley?
Yep, Akram Wadley. Yep.
Yeah, he ended up leaving Jersey and going to Iowa. A lot of success in Iowa from Jersey guys.
For sure.
I mean, something about the water over here, I guess.
I was going to say is Marco Lainez considered a miss out there or not so much because he's like a prep school guy out there, right?
Yeah, so he's a prep school. He's a Jersey dude, like through and through. But Rutgers didn't show a ton of interest. It's interesting to me because this is a program that Rutgers has done really well with since Schiano returned, and they didn't like him that much. And I think that's kind of a BS answer, in my opinion, because he's been telling people since, I guess, his sophomore year, he's like, I want to play under center. I want to play under center. I want to play pro style offense. And it's like, okay, well, you're not going to Rutgers because they don't run that shit. Now, you want to go to like Iowa, Michigan State, something like that. I get it. So that's kind of, I feel like how that one ended up. But yeah, no, he's a pretty good quarterback. He's pretty accurate, pretty good arm. I wouldn't be shocked if he'd be starting in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But again, you guys don't switch quarterbacks, so that's a different issue.
Fair point.
I'll take that.
So we'll see him in 2028.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Richard, for giving us a rundown. We really appreciate it. Obviously, it goes without mentioning the punters are 2 of the best in the country, so we look forward to seeing a lot of them this Saturday, and hopefully we'll see. I feel like it's gonna be close, and I want to kind of get into predictions and what that looks like. But first, we'll need to toss it over to our own Dylan Pond for Dylan's keys to victory.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob, and we'll get through this here relatively quickly. Offensively. The Iowa key to victory is establishing the run and successfully establishing the run. And, that starts up front with the offensive line. I think, we need to see the 5 best out there. That's what the non-conference portion of the season is for, right? Well, this is Big Ten ball. We've heard already that Rutgers has a deep defensive line. So, I mean, these guys are going to have to be ready to go. So, yeah, we want to see the 5 best out there. Whoever that ends up being, I want to put all my biases for my boy TLs aside. So throw the 5 best out there and let's run with it and let's get these guys on a roll and establish the run. And really just go from there. If we can establish the run, I think we can have a really good night there in Piscataway. Defensively, I've been saying it all year, just keep doing what you're doing. I know Rutgers has some skill position players. Obviously, we're going to see an uptick in terms of competition, that we saw last week. But our secondary, obviously, one of the best in the nation for the reason. Iowa linebacking core, one of the best in the nation, potentially be getting Justin Jacobs back here Saturday. I think just keep doing what you're doing, and then we can rotate in guys on the defensive line, keep them fresh, and that really comes to special teams and the matchup that everybody is waiting to see, that the entire nation will be on point watching the two best punters in the nation go at it. And Tory Taylor, I think this is his time to shine. I think he knows he's good, but this is his chance. This is like the old school, the Justin Verlander versus Adam Wainwright matchups. And I'm a Cardinals fan, so a little biased there. Throw whatever ace pitcher that you like in there, and that's this matchup for these two guys. And so, how do you pronounce the Rutgers punter last name, Richie?
Corsack.
Corsack, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at Corsack, and, hasn't had a touchback since 2019, obviously phenomenal. And, Tory has struggled with that here the past couple of weeks, but it's been some crazy weather going on, and not making excuses because I know he doesn't either, but it's going to be a battle of the punters, right? This is going to be an old-fashioned Big Ten showdown, and special teams are going to play a major role. So look for Tory Taylor, kicking balls inside the 10, inside the 20. It's going to be crazy, crazy important, and that field position battle is going to be so important, which leads to the kickers as well. And look for our boy Drew Stevens. I think Drew Stevens, to me, has shown he's the guy. I think Aaron Blom's going to be a more than serviceable kickoff guy if they chose to go that route, kind of like the Caleb Shudak, Keith Duncan era. So look for him to come in and, not getting into my predictions here necessarily, but perhaps even kick a game-winning field goal on the road Saturday night. I don't know.
Perfect.
Now, Richie, what would you say are the keys to victory for Rutgers?
See, now, like when they gave you the mic, I really expected a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, maybe even like a shotgunning a beer or something. I was getting like a little excited for a second, but you kind of stole the script from me, to be honest. Like it would be probably established a run game. Rutgers can't pass the ball for shit, and there's no secret. They had 59 passing yards last week against the Temple defense. That's bottom of the barrel in the Big East, AAC, whatever the fuck you call it. The shitty conference, it doesn't matter anymore. Power 6, right? Yeah, that's how it works. Anyway. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this special teams unit is going to be the difference maker here. But I know it sounds cliche to go after the punters, but I'm not going to pick the punters. I'm going to pick the return game. I think Aaron Cruikshank is a hell of a return man. Like I mentioned multiple times, he has 5 kick/punt returns for touchdowns. Now, does he have to do that? No, he doesn't have to do that. He averages 25 yards per return. He doesn't even have to get that. If he gets another 20 yards on top of like what most returns would be at that 20, 25 range, that's huge for Rutgers in field position. And like I said, this game's not going to be pretty. I just noticed, I'm looking on Twitter right now, the over-under dropped to 33.5. So it keeps going lower and lower because people know that this game is not going to be high scoring. I think it's going to come down to something stupid, either a trick play, a gadget play, or in this turn, in my opinion, it's going to come down to special teams, whether it be a punt off, which would be kind of cool, as you guys think, maybe a game-winning field goal, or even, who knows, maybe a kick return for a touchdown. And that might be the only score we'll see all day long. But I don't know. I think special teams, and that's the key to the game for Rutgers. You got to win it there. And it is a pretty big facet of the game. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but you can win games there.
Absolutely.
You heard it here first. So we'll move over real quick to odds because I know Richie just kind of talked about it real quick. As of right now, Iowa is still a 7.5 point favorite. Over under, as you alluded to, is 33.5. Thanks to our friends over at DraftKings, who is the unofficial sponsor of Hawkeyes and Tallboys. Iowa, according to ESPN, is a 57% favorite. Rob Wall is back, folks. He is back. He
was frozen. Now he's here.
Richie, we'll pass to you. We'll finish our episode off here with a real quick hot take, and then your your score prediction for the game. If you want to give the hot take first, let's hear it.
Hot take. You got to bench Petrus, and Padilla could be the game winner right there.
What about a hot take for
Rutgers? From Rutgers side. Oh, yeah. I could do that. I think freshman quarterback, if Gavin Wimsatt's healthy, I think he might be able to take – I know before I said neither of these guys can take the job by the reins. That might be it. I really think if you want to win this game, you got to get your offense going. You got to get a spark. Let the young kid rock. He's got mobility. Maybe he runs it in for a score. Probably not, because like I said before, these offenses suck. But he might be able to throw one or even to get a couple yards down the field. You can't have another 59-yard game. That was absolutely abysmal. But I think hot take, he comes in, he leads this Rutgers offense to about 10 points.
There you go. Rob, what do you think?
Love it. If I was going to give my prediction, I'd say it's going to be 16-3. Iowa.
3. Oof. 3.
Nope.
Ooh, okay. My hot take, Spencer Petrus, the man, the myth, the legend. He's going to come out, shut up the haters. I'm saying he's going for 2. I said 3 touchdowns last week. Let's go 3. He's going to throw for 3 touchdowns in Piscataway Saturday night, and Hawkeyes are going to win this one. It's going to be a close one. I'm going 24-20. 24-21 because I said a field goal to win it. There you go.
You heard what I said before about the over-under, right?
I sure did.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
We're going over. I have faith in these offenses, Rich.
Oh, jeez.
I definitely don't have any faith at all. And my hot take, I guess, is this is the first, just like last year, this is the first away Big Ten game that Iowa's got. We got shades of Maryland coming in. Last year, Iowa's defense forced 7 turnovers. The Hawks are going to force 5 turnovers, whether that be interceptions or fumbles. We'll see what happens here, but the Hawks have 5 turnovers. Iowa ends up winning 17-3. They get a couple scores off of those turnovers.
I know I said the Rutgers offense stinks, but 3 points. Like, at least give the defense a little bit of credit. Once I heard 3 touchdowns for Spencer Petrus, my immediate thought was 2 of them are probably going the other way. But I mean, if I had to offer a quick prediction, right now I got 16-13. I think it's going to come down to an interesting one. I think both teams are going to kick a lot of field goals, and it's going to be really ugly. Maybe 1 touchdown each, whether that be, like I said, special teams, offense. I don't even know, defense probably for the most part. But yeah, 16-13. I think Rutgers can pull this one out. This atmosphere is different in New Jersey. Like I said, it's kind of more of like these people are just loud. They kind of don't like other people. They don't like outsiders. And this is like going to be the first sellout in quite some time. First night game since 2017. First night game with fans with Schiano back. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But no, it should be a good game for Rutgers. I really think they're going to pull this one out somehow. I did not project this at the beginning of the season, but it's a new team week by week, and you just got to go 1-0.
Absolutely. And then, Richie, before we did let you go here, I did want to ask you. So the Iowa Hawkeye media found out this week that Nico Regani's last name is actually pronounced Regaini. Did I say that right? Regaini. Italian. And us Iowans aren't used to, a big Italian presence, and maybe that's a little more common on the East Coast. I guess, did you guys know his last name was pronounced that way?
I didn't until I kind of assumed, actually, when I was putting together the depth charts, just looking, I was like, oh, Italian boy, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a couple unwritten rules here real quick about Italy. You don't eat pizza outside of Jersey. You don't eat Italian food outside of Jersey. That's it. Capiche? Tony Soprano?
I don't know, man. Cedar Rapids, Iowa has a mean Olive Garden, Richie. So if you ever make your way out, I'd be happy.
That's like a sin if you eat Olive Garden in Jersey. It's like, don't get me started. I'm not even Italian, and I know.
Well, Richie, thanks again, man, for coming on. We appreciate it, and thanks for all your Rutgers news. So, looking forward to the game here on Saturday. Hopefully, it's a good one. Enjoy it if you're there. And Hawks fans, thanks again for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.